Hi there guys and welcome to another Palace Daily. As you can tell, back home now, a little bit darker as well, but back home ready to carry on with the videos. Today I thought I'd do a quick Palace Daily. I will be bringing out a preview probably Friday because it's a Sunday game against Sheffield United, our next game, but be sure to check in for that preview when it comes out because I think that's going to be a really important game for both teams really. But today I thought I'd do a Palace Daily reacting to last night's Carabao Cup second round draw. Came off the back of the Salford Leeds game, really good win for Leeds, but Palace in the South group, of course, because they're doing it differently now, got North and South. Palace were drawn at home to Colchester. Really funny enough, if you check out my video on my Twitter, you would have seen that we were one away from being away to Brighton, so in a way a little bit gutted that we couldn't have had that game, but also, you know, probably came off with a better draw in terms of our chances of getting through, obviously, against Colchester, and that's no disrespect to Colchester fans. My initial reaction to that, home to Colchester, good draw. I'm really interested this season to see how seriously we take this competition, because in previous years, and I think really forever, I've not seen us since the Championship days really take this competition seriously. I think because of how early it is in the season, and you know the finals in January, it means that first half of the season we always seem to be in and around a relegation battle, or we tend to start really slowly in our seasons in the Prem. So I really do think that that's a reason why a lot of managers we've had, and Roy especially in the past as well, has really kind of put it to one side and not really, you know, gone full strength or focused too much on the Carabao Cup. It's not a priority for us. I do think that'll be the same again. It all depends on how well we start. If we beat Sheffield United at the weekend, and I can't see us getting anything away at Man United this season, but if we can get a few wins under our belt in the next 2 or 3 games, then I think maybe, and you know, we creep up the table a bit and we're away from that sort of relegation battle part in about a month's time, maybe we put a little bit more attention into this. For me personally, I think our priority is staying up, and I think that Carabao Cup can get in the way of that for teams. I think that's why the FA Cup seems to be more of a focus for clubs in the second half of the season, because especially for us, we seem to have that boost at January time, just after Christmas, and we seem to have a really good end to seasons. We, you know, in the new year and onwards, we seem to do very, very well in terms of picking up points and results. So I think that'll be so if, you know, previous seasons are anything to go off of, I think that's why we tend to focus on the FA Cup a bit more, because we seem to steer away from trouble come, you know, the new year, and it means we can put more attention onto the FA Cup, which is why we've had some good success in recent years in the FA Cup, of course. So for me, I think Colchester's a good game for us. I think Colchester fans seem very happy about it, which is good to see from just their reaction on social media, and obviously it's a really big game for them, which makes it a bit more interesting as well. At Selhurst Park, I think we'll get some good numbers. It's a good chance as well for some maybe of the HF in Block E to really make a big boost as well. I think that would be a good game. I expect us to go through, but as I said before, I think it will be a weakened side, and obviously it'd be a chance, I hope, for people like maybe Nia Kirby to, you know, make an appearance, or to try and force their way into the side for that game. I hope that he puts a couple of youth players in there, Roy, but also adds that strength and that reserve on the bench. So maybe the likes of Zaha on the bench, or Benteke, etc. In case things don't go to plan and we need them to come off the bench to try and help sort things out. But for me, I'm looking forward to that game. Hopefully I can go to that, and Colchester fans obviously very excited. But that's a good draw, and that's the sort of draw you want to see. You don't want to see a Championship side away or a Premier League side in these cup games, these domestic competitions. It's all about the lower teams really for clubs like Palace, I think, and just getting good draws like that. So looking forward to that. The other bit of news I wanted to talk about was, I mentioned Nia Kirby there and some youth. I wanted to just talk a little bit about the youth at Palace, mainly off the back of the news that Luke Dreher got an ACL injury the other day for the under-23s against Birmingham, I believe, and he looks to be missing pretty much the whole season. And I wanted to know your thoughts on it, because Luke Dreher for me is a player that obviously came off the bench in our last game of last season against Bournemouth. And he's a player that I think has been very close to knocking on the door, maybe not so much for a starting spot, but to get on the bench. I think it's looking less likely now off the back of this window with the midfielders we have signed. But I think he's a player that's got a lot of promise and is obviously very highly rated from the academy staff. Gary Izzet, obviously head of the youth academy, has obviously tipped him very highly and praised him a lot to make a name for himself at Palace. But for me, I think it's going to look very difficult for him to get into the team about now with the players, and obviously I feel for him. We're getting another injury. He had an injury last season as well, but this one looks even worse. So hopefully he doesn't turn into like a Johnny Williams kind of situation where you've got this very promising young talent who keeps being out because of injuries. It's frustrating not just for the player but for the fans, because I'd love to see more of the youth. I know it goes back to the argument about us being in relegation battles or thereabouts in a Premier League season and the importance of staying up. I know that's a big deal, so it's hard to inject youth, and it's kind of, I wanted to know everyone's thoughts really, to comment below. With youth, how much attention should we be putting into it, and how much involvement off the back of, especially last season with Wan-Bissaka, the success with that, and even in the past, like Sir Victor Moses coming through, obviously Wilf, we've had some really good success, and even if we don't keep those players, Wan-Bissaka's a good example, we get a massive amount of money from those sort of transfers if they do work out well in the first team. For me though, you've got to weigh it up. It's very difficult when you're a side like Palace, who are going to be mid-table, lower mid-table at times in the season, of course around the relegation zone, to put faith into youth players unless there's an injury crisis at the club, which is how Wan-Bissaka got into the team, of course. It's very hard to put a lot of faith and to try and put youngsters into the team when you're in that situation where you need experience and you need obviously leadership and players who are used to being in that sort of situation or used to Premier League football to try and get yourself out of trouble essentially, or to steer away from trouble. So it's very hard to then put players like James Daly, for example, up front when we've got a goal crisis. Or I say crisis is both a strong word, but we've struggled for goals the last few seasons definitely, and to put maybe that youngster into the striker role could be a lot of pressure on him. He's not very proven there. You got to weigh it up. How long would you give him before you had to change things up, and can we afford to have him in the team for 2 or 3 games and him not to score just for the sake of introducing youth into the team? It's really interesting to know you guys' thoughts. I'd love to hear your comments down below. For me, and also it's a problem at the other end. You see the likes of Phil Foden. It's very hard to break into the top teams because of what's at stake for them, getting Champions League football, winning trophies, Premier Leagues, etc. And the importance of that from the board, and of course for the financial value of that as well. It's very hard to inject youth into that because it's a lot of pressure on their shoulders, and are they going to be good enough to, for example, in an FA Cup final, to step up and do it? It's tricky. Really, I think the sweet spot for youth players and academy players looking to make a break into the first team would be, of course, as I said, an injury crisis to a squad. That's their chance to really go for it. For us, I think it's a good chance for right backs and strikers to really make a name for themselves in the academy at the moment, because we're obviously very light in those particular areas in terms of, squad depth really. Not replacing Wan-Bissaka kind of leaves the door open for an academy player to come in there. So that's one thing, injuries and lack of depth. But the other way youth players really can get into the squad is if you're in that bracket, that sort of 9th down to about 12th, 13th bracket in the mid-table, where I'm using an example from years ago. Stoke, of course, not the same Stoke now, but Stoke when they were in the Prem were that sort of team who always finished in that bracket. And for me, if you're one of those teams, you can afford to introduce more youth players into the team, because you're not going to be going up into the Europa League spot, so you're not challenging for that, and you're also not going to be going down. You're in that sweet spot where you can get results and you can afford to lose games and it not really affect your season too much. But obviously, guys, let me know your thoughts on that down below. How much attention should we put into youth, especially off the back of the last few seasons? The Luke Dreher injury as well. Let me know your thoughts on that. Hope he really makes a speedy recovery and we get to see him in a Palace shirt soon. But it's a really interesting thought. It just crossed my mind because of the Luke Dreher injury. I just started thinking about the youth academy and the importance. So let me know your thoughts. And of course, the Carabao Cup draw I think it's a very good draw. Let me know your thoughts, and how much attention should we put in on that tournament? How much focus? For me, every cup competition, I want to see us do well, but how the management see it. You know, that's what I'm considering and what I'm thinking at the moment. So comment your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for your support over the last few weeks, guys. A lot of views on some of the Palace previews, and you know, getting back into the swing of things with the new season. Looking forward to doing another one in a few days time for the Sheffield United game. So more videos to come. Make sure you like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Comment thoughts down below as always, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.